Yo, Rooster, what's up, man? I think we're gonna have a pretty small space here today, considering that I am not doing this from the Kaleo account, but I kind of love that. Again, it's one of those things where whenever I travel, I guess I probably should bring both phones so I could host multiple spaces. But if not, then oh well. I'm gonna just invite everybody that is a listener up on stage, though, and vibe with just a small crew. I love doing that.
Good morning, everyone.
GM. I just got on a Peloton ride for 30 minutes and ETH went up 10%. What the hell happened?
Dude, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I had a feeling this weekend was going to be a weekend where we ended up seeing a nice little spike up from this base range we've been in. Man, it made a lot of sense that we were going to see some type of mean reversion. If we weren't going to get that breakdown lower on that last move that we saw last week, where it dipped back down to 19, like I don't think that we're going to get it. Like, I think 17K for BTC, and that might be the generational bottom for it. So we'll see, man. It's you know, maybe stuck in a crab for another few months, but dude, I'm looking forward to a few weeks of bullishness if we somehow get lucky enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been so long. I feel like everyone's either been washed out or I don't know. I think we've been waiting on it and this is like this has to be it because they're trying to make up FUD about Coinbase now and all I could say is like I do consulting for my wage cuck job, and I happen to work with Coinbase closely, and all I could say is they're fine. So, as someone who works like intimately with their financial reporting team and everything, so I don't
Dude,
know what they're talking about.
I guess I'm missing out on a big opportunity to drop my FTX US ref link and get people to switch over, right? Like, that's I don't even think about it. With all the Coinbase fund, that's where you got to capitalize on the fear, bring them over, make use, make them realize that them sponsoring me is worth continuing. So might have to.
That's true. I mean, if Sam buys out Robinhood, like they're gonna onboard like I don't know how many people use Robin. I think it's like 20 million users or something. Like that would be huge. I think like that's what he's trying to do. But I mean, all those users are gonna go like right to FTX. So I think they're just gonna like lap over Coinbase. Like, do you see their NFT marketplace? Like GameStop did more volume in like 2 days than they did in like 6 months or
Wait, are
something
you serious?
ridiculous.
The GameStop NFT
Yeah,
marketplace?
yeah. They did $3 million in like the first 2 days, and Coinbase did like 1.7 million total USD, and like ever since they came out.
When did they officially go live? How did I miss that? Like, I knew they were coming out soon, but I didn't realize that they'd gone live yet. And by the way, just quickly, anybody in this crowd, just get your ass up on stage. I invited all of y'all. You can even we can turn this into a freaking pudgy space. I don't care for the day. Like, we can make it happen. This is
Let's
just a
go.
small vibe. Like, we do this every week for the Wonky crew, and love that I'm finally Bogfather's been trying to get me to do it forever. Same with Yakamit, same with like everybody else, as far as hopping on and getting on the pudgy train. So finally decided that I needed to dip my toes in the pudgy train. And if I get a few more of y'all, the pudgies on stage, I will talk about why I finally got on the pudgy train. But otherwise, like, we're gonna keep this, market wonkies, everything else. We're just gonna vibe regardless. But welcome up, welcome. This is kind of like a small little hidden space because again, not everybody realizes that Kaleo is behind this LedgArt account whenever the spaces are going. So this is like a way to host a space and have like a small core tight knit community rather than having like hundreds of random whatever people up there. We can just keep it small, keep it cool. So get your asses up on stage. Sorry, I'm done. Bogfather, I don't even remember what we were talking about and where I interrupted you going into this. If you do, dive back in.
We were just making fun of the Coinbase NFT. Apparently, they launched like a Bill Murray collection yesterday. There was 1,000 pieces, and then they bragged about it selling out. But in reality they only sold 81 of them, and then like we'll sell the other ones at a later date, like with an asterisk, like they just didn't even say, like it didn't even like sell out, or they don't, yeah, it's sold like 8% of the total collection, but yeah, they're struggling. But Pudgies, I think we've done more Pudgy volume than in the last day than like Coinbase did total since it came out. But the Pudgies are thriving, man. We're doing the toy collect, the what do you call it? There's a space later about like how we're going to utilize like the IP, and they're making toys later on in the year. The founder's pretty. He did the gel blaster, so I think he's done like sold other merch and stuff. So that's kind of like his like forte. So we'll see what happens with that. But
Bog, how many Pudgies do you have, man?
I have 30 Pudgies and 150 little Pudgies.
Dude, no freaking
When Wonky Stonks Pudgy
Yeah, I have like
Penguins official
70
collab?
Wonkies. At a certain point, like I could buy more, but it's like I don't want to like. There's like a certain cap, like where you don't want to like have too much of something, because then it's like you'll never be able to get out too.
I agree. I see what you're saying with it. Like, and it's one of those things too where, dude, again, I guess here's obviously my bias with the Wonkies are it's my project and I know where I'm going with it. And like, it's one of those things where I realize that I'm going to be, it's going to be there for years, and I'm going to give away like, during this space, I typically give away Wonkies. Heck, if I get, Ryan DM like this account or the Kaleo account, whatever, I'll DM you back. I'll give you a Wonky coming up on stage. Yeah,
I'm gonna raffle. I'm gonna raffle off a Wonky too.
That's my thing.
I have so many.
I
Let me raffle one off.
I give away at least like one or two each week whenever I do these spaces. That's my whole thing. I'll collect hundreds, and I know the supply. Like I'm never gonna sell my whatever the Wonkies. Like I'm gonna give them away throughout the years, no matter what the floor or whatever else is. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I'll continue to stack them slowly throughout the process, whatever the time is there. The generative art movement is here. It is generative art. So yeah. But, in the meantime, what I realized also is, dude, I think the best way to be able to like really realistically make it in the NFT space is to like start investing slowly into projects and communities that are solid communities. And the Pudgies, I feel like, are one of those that are obviously undervalued after after how long they've been around, where they've been at. Like, I'm surprised looking at it. I feel like they should have a mutinate type floor right now, right? Like 20 ETH should be an easy floor. I'll drop that like when I'm not on the Kaleo account, and I'm slowly going to keep, I don't like to ape in 100% at anything at once, but I'm going to keep collecting some more Pudgies. Like, I feel like why not? So yeah. Anyway, there's your Pudgy Alpha. Don't be surprised if I continue to stack a few more. I'm not going to ape into anything because I'm not enough of a degen NFT guy yet to do that. Though you should ape into the Wonkies.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Wonkies are criminally undervalued. From like where the thing is about the Wonkies, people forget it was like I think you were one of the first people to do the stealth mint, but you did it like at the perfect time. I remember like when gas was like horrible last year, but people like it was a pretty fair mint and it was really distributed. But I think there's still like 60 something percent unique holders. So I mean, it's like one of those things where it happened like early. I feel like with NFT collections, especially generative art, like you have to like they have to have some like lore behind it and some staying power. Like, and they've been around for like 9-10 months now, so it's definitely it does have that, and that's kind of the most important piece. And I think what's like to come is still like up in the air. It's kind of like where ICOs were in 2017. It's like we have what are we doing? Like what's the next step with NFTs? And like people will be building, and we'll find out where to pivot next. But there's a lot of really really cool opportunities, and again, I'm no bias, but the Wonkies are dope, and we like the Wonkies.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, I'll drop some more alpha because why not? Like it is smaller. Like one of these days, and here's one of the things I'm not in a rush with. I think a lot of projects they drop certain incentives too early. Like they end up expanding their collection before the community's at capacity to where there's a true need to expand the collection. right? And that's kind of what I feel like with LedgArt in general right now. It's like, okay, it's a small community, it's strong, but if you end up creating any other collections within it, then it ends up being immediately, like you're just basically flooding the supply of the people that are in it right then and there. So my whole thing is, it's like, dude, just continue to build a slow, strong base. And like when the time is right, that's when you start adding to the collections within the ecosystem, right? So there's no rush with what that is. I don't know what the exact number or what the anything else is for that point. But like that's the way I see it, is that we're going to be in this homeostasis point for NFTs for like the next couple of years where, I think we've already seen they are a bit of an outlier. I think they'll continue to be, but I really believe that they'll be the next, what DeFi summer was, what Solana summer was. Like they will lead the charge as far as, the where you'll see the highest return heading into
Yeah,
the next bull run in the next couple of
100%.
years.
Do
So
you
it's
think
like,
it's
how
like
do
a
you position?
subset of an asset, a subset of crypto? It's its own asset of some kind. Like I wouldn't really generalize it, even though it is like ERC 721's. Like I feel like it's its own kind of asset class. But yeah,
Bro, and I'll say that it's the same thing with like the pudgies leading into it. I thought about it. I was like, man, like, here the pudgies are. And if I was trading this like a normal shitcoin chart, like I literally looked at it on the chart on OpenSea as if it was a shitcoin chart. And I'm like, I'm going to look back one of these days. And if I don't have at least a few, and it is, 2025 and pudgies have like a 100 ETH floor, and I'm sitting there saying that I knew about the pudgies for literal years in like the single digit ETH territory, and I didn't even at least grab a couple, like how stupid I would feel. So it was almost like an insurance policy where I was like, okay, like if any of the old school blue chips that are undervalued right now end up coming back down the road, I bet the pudgies are going to be one of them. So you got to stack, and you've got to like position yourself kind of with those insurance policies just in case leading into it.
100%.
Agreed. And it's one of those things too, is like once you start buying pudgies or like any other project, like you get addicted to that collection and you like go back and you're like, shit, I should have bought this like trait. So I see you, Kaleo, just like snatching pudgies left and right with different traits. So we see you.
What's your favorite trait, by the way? I was meaning to ask you
For
that.
what?
For the pudgies.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to drop it because I might have my eye on some that I
Never. Okay, that's
might
fine.
have to slowly keep snagging. So we'll see. I did realize though, like I snagged a couple yesterday, right? And then I realized I was like, oh shit, like looking at that, that's kind of bland, didn't have any color. So then I saw one with a ton of color on the floor, and I was like, okay, like just to spice it up, I'm gonna go ahead snag that one, and I'll slowly, keep snagging some more. We'll see. Um, it's just one of those things where I feel like, hopefully I'm not approaching it too slowly. I just feel like it's one of those things where I have aped in to collections, and not necessarily collections, coins, other stuff like that on pump days before, and then you see a little bit of relief and a little bit of a breather moment where, okay, that whatever hype that was there ends up cooling off. So it's more of just a discipline thing with, okay, like this has been in this range for a while. Hopefully it'll continue to be in this range for a little while longer. And, maybe I'll be able to stack a few more a little bit cheaper heading into it. We'll see. But if not, again, looking at it, pudgies are one of the collections that I do see leading up to that higher valuation later. And obviously there are other collections like that I do see as well that, I've thought about it. I'm like, okay, I need to start slowly entering into some of these ecosystems. I think there's healthy, there's just this healthiness within the NFT culture whenever you start to dive in to different communities and kind of cross that bridge between different communities, right?
100%. I think it's when going into like the Discord, like it, you see the same faces and stuff. Like we've been kind of getting more presence on Twitter during the bear market because it's just been pretty slow all around. But the pudgies really haven't gone anywhere. Like no matter what's happened, like the engagement's been pretty high, and it's really good to see like some of the old faces coming back in since we got the new team. And I think that was key, like getting back those key people that were part of the first run up. And there's just so much like on the horizon. And talking about traits, once they select the toys, the penguins that are going to be on the toys, I would be looking at those traits to snipe, because they're going to be like a hot commodity, like whatever it is, because some of them might not be marketable as a plushie, especially like the little pudgies. They're like double fisting turkey legs. I don't know how you're going to manufacture that, but there's there's a lot of clean ones, and there's a lot of cute ones that are not rare that will probably be valuable. A lot of meme traits that are valuable, but there's a lot behind each thing, and there's a million stickers, and we're rolling out the GIFs. It's just kind of full on memes right now, and it's amazing. Like, we've slowly taken over Twitter this week, and it's been really fun. It kind of reminds me of like last August when like during that first run up.
Yeah, man. When you're repping 30 pudgies, like you love to see it.
And one thing I'll say about the traits too is, like, I'm biased, but red skins, man. Like, you have your ice, you have your gold, and then you have your two leopards, and those are like, oh, those are your rare skins. But like, the top skin is red, like as far as like your base colors go. So, and a lot of people drop those really close to the floor, if not on the floor. So keep an eye out for red skins.
Oh, we got a bowl cut up here too. What's up, Ryan?
Yeah, hey, how's it going? I was just gonna say, you were talking about how the community in the Discord for the Pudgy Penguins, is like pretty authentic, and I think that just talks to the staying power of of a lot of like the early community members being in Pudgy Penguins, because it was one of the earlier mints of the last bull run, like starting in May 2021, and so I think a lot of people that it's like the people that bought into apes early or any of those original collections, whether you have one or you bought, 5 or 10 back then, it's hard not to at least, keep some skin in the game. So it's not really a surprise, I think, that when everything that starts to kind of sell off in these big downturns, especially these, newer NFT projects, that some of the older, blue chips like Pudgy Penguins kind of start to stand out. So yeah, pretty fun to be along the journey for that whole
And one thing I think that's really interesting about NFTs too is, like, people that just buy one, base their whole online identity to that. You didn't see that. You saw a little bit with shitcoins, but that was just them shilling their bags. But like, when it becomes like your whole persona, like, there's a different way you have to start playing charts. And yeah, it's a new ball game.
Yeah, I mean, it creates some intangible like value associated with it. And so there's a lot that goes to people who build, brands, especially online. And yeah, if you build if you build your brand value around uh, one particular NFT, and that's kind of where the value is partly accruing. When you sell that, you might lose some of that. So definitely create some stickiness.
100%, man. Rooster. So, okay, another collection that, like, I see that I do respect and I do need to get into, because I know you guys are all big on it. Like, the Psychedelics Anonymous, that's another one. I'll probably pick up a PA, like, just for the culture, because there are a lot of guys, like, here's one of the things that I look at and that I'm looking at as I'm like going to start creeping into some of these different projects. It's just, where are people that I respect within the communities that I vibe with, like, where are they involved in it? I know there are a lot of guys in the Wonky Stonks community that are big in the PA community, and that was the same thing with, like, Pudgies, right? You got guys like Bogfather, Yakima. I can go down the list of several others that, are big Pudgy guys, and they have pushed me for so long as far as, from within the Wonky Stonks community, like, dude, you got to end up getting in on this. And finally I was like, okay, like, here are things that, again, and even if I don't end up aping into everything, as long as, like, it's one of those things where if you have people that you trust, you believe, that are inside of that, a little bit of exposure, so that if they end up doing that massive explosion to the next level, like, I do think Pudgies will, like, whenever they end up going to that 20, 30, whatever ETH type of area, then you're like, okay, at least I don't have as much FOMO, because I could rep, like, at least a small bag forever, just be able to have something there to be able to represent and, enjoy the ride with those guys that believe in that area for longer that were there with you, telling you about it for a long time, right? So, yeah. It's funny. I'm doing this right now. I snuck away. I'm here with the fam on a little mini vacation and snuck up. Said I had to go up to the room because like I do this space every single week, no matter what. But it makes it tough. I usually do it Fridays at 11 a.m. for the Wonky crew, and then you know. But of course, like a lot of the time you're traveling on Fridays, and whenever you're on the road, there's sometimes zero opportunities to do this. So you got to be able to sneak away while everyone else eats lunch or do something else to be able to make the time to work this in.
Appreciate you, taking time away and hosting the space. I think it'd be interesting. I came into the space because I saw it on Twitter from like the Pudgy Penguin community that a lot of people were joining. I would love to learn a little bit about LedgArt and the Wonky, collection and community.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate that. So, you basically story behind it is last October, actually, leading up to last October, right? And by the way, if anybody doesn't recognize my voice that's listening, like this is Kaleo. This is, just me hosting from the LedgArt account. Unfortunately, I don't have two phones, so I can't do both. But I kind of like doing small spaces like this anyway. So, anyway, but to keep going with it, leading up to that, I talked with a buddy where I was like, I want to be able to do something to help engage with my community a little bit more leading into the NFT space. I really have respected, I like the generative art type stuff. So I wanted there to be something surrounding that. I didn't feel like a PFP type collection would really be true to my identity, as a trader within the space, because the majority of the people that followed me were people that were involved in the trading side of things rather than the NFT side, right? So, we looked through it and ended up coming up with generative art, like fully generative price action, fully generative stock, like type of charts that I looked through it and immediately connected with me because when I look at a chart, like I see art. I like it invokes an emotion of different trades from different price action of hours and hours that I've spent looking at it. And the funny thing is, you look at it and you're like, where's the memeability of a stonk chart? And I think the memeability is the fact that you're buying a PFP or, a JPEG of a chart rather than actually, buying the stonk or the coin or anything else itself, right? And I think that there is memeability behind that. And when you look at the history of everything, I believe that like, I'll be around for years. I want to be able to continue to build this community. And we entered into it where it was a stealth drop. I didn't give any whitelist spots to anybody. I didn't give anything, any honorable, honoraries or anything like that to anybody. Just one day when the collection was fully ready during a space, I just announced to everybody, I was like, hey, I'm doing this free mint. It has no roadmap, no anything else. If you want to mint, go to it. It was October. It was actually the day, October 19th. BTC and ETH were making, new all-time highs. They were both climbing into it. It was really, just one of those cool, fun spaces. And, I think that the history of that kind of like will always resonate with me as well. But dude, that's what it is. It's just my whole thing leading into it and from there is the roadmap is officially we vibe and then we vibe harder. So my whole thing is, dude, regardless of where the floor price is, anything else, like, dude, I'm not in it for the money. I'm just in it because like I enjoy the community that I've built out of it. I poured, tons of ETH scooping these up because I do believe in it. I do believe that down the road I'll be able to add to an ecosystem within this, and I want to be able to continue to give back to the community, be able to give these away to people as time goes on, regardless of where floor or anything else is. So it's like, why not stack in something that you believe whenever it's cheaper like this and to be able to build from there? And that's my whole thing with it is, it's like, dude, I'm not in a rush. I'm not in anything else with it. I will vibe and focus on the guys that are there. And I believe that value inherently shows itself with time. So that's kind of the vision behind it, is eventually to add an ecosystem with more generative art projects behind it. But again, I'm not going to sit there and rush and flood anything into an ecosystem that I don't feel like is at the point of maturity to where it's ready for that yet. So anyway, that's kind of where the history of it is, where it is now, and you know,
And you guys did it the right way too, because anytime you drop a meme project like that, that's just fun. Like you guys did it as a free mint. I remember that day, and I jumped on and minted a few, and yeah. So anytime you can do a free mint and it's a good project, like I'm such a fan of free mints. But yeah, it was a great launch.
I appreciate it, man. I'm sorry to go off. I know that was a long tangent, long explanation, but that's kind of the history.
No, I appreciate it. I think it's really interesting. So are these generative art just purely based on like are they supposed to represent any underlying data around actual companies and like historic performance, or is it purely just kind of bringing together these different elements, whether it's time, value, performance, or whatever, and creating a piece of art?
Yeah, no, I mean it's purely generative art. So if it's purely generative, then you can't necessarily base it off any particular company or particular specific price action, right? Because I think then you'd have to kind of tailor the inputs a little bit more to be able to make that happen. So, basically the way that the parameters were structured were that you have, there are different time intervals, whether, it's a minute chart, daily, hourly, monthly, weekly, etc. Right? There are different returns that were generated from the actual price action itself. And then one of the really cool hidden traits that's worked in there as well that I'm a big fan of is my buddy that coded the project. We worked in an algorithm that basically bucketed different price action that had like clear cut similarities that fit the criteria into different traits that you click there. And in a way it's a hidden trait, right? That indicator, you click on it and you'll see, okay, like that's a worm burner, and you'll look at it and it's like, okay, yeah, these are all worm burners. You can see the price action that kind of dictates that trend, and you see the similarities rather than, okay, everybody has like a certain hat or a certain hairstyle or necklace or thing that they're wearing. Instead, it's different price action that generatively matches it. And then as far as other indicators that I think are pretty cool that are just these simplistic style elements. You've got the super guppies, the moving average ribbons, this and that, like, actual stock chart indicators that are worked in there that, just add a little bit more flair to the actual chart. But like the coolest thing for me is, even though it doesn't represent companies, you can look through it. And there are a million times that you can say, okay, this price action from my stonk actually looks a lot like this price action from whatever shit coin that you're looking at whatever time period, right? Like the generative art mimics reality, and it's pretty cool to watch that.
Yeah, I was kind of just thinking that as you were talking, like this is a really interesting representation of kind of art in its purest form. And technical analysis in and of itself is very personalized or up for interpretation of the individual. And you have different styles, whether that be like trading based on daily or hourly or different durations. And artists have different styles of painting, like abstract, etc. Or you have different techniques, and that's kind of some of the stuff you're talking about, with following like different, like, I don't know, Fibonacci's or, different kind of stuff. And yeah, artists have different types of, artistic techniques as well. So it's really interesting to see the parallels that are drawn. And yeah, you do start to assign value to things, whether it's there or not. Like I was looking at these, and the bag holder one resonates with me particularly right now, and the liquidation charts, right? And so it's kind of ironic and interesting if, like, because you can find some humor in the chaos that's happening across markets right now, right? And if like liquidation a collection or ones within this collection like took off during a bear market, it'd be kind of funny.
Oh yeah, man. And again, looking at it, like you ask yourself, how do NFT collections survive, right? They survive based on multiple factors. One of them, being the community, the other being the founders. And like, we have a strong core community that's grown out of this. Like Rooster is always like a solid cog in the machine that makes this engine run. But then on top of that, like I look at it where there are a lot of founders in certain projects where if they're not getting a certain revenue or they're not doing this or that, like they're not able to continue forward with that project because they're not able to sustain it from the time input for the value that they're getting out of it, right? And like again with this, like dude, again, I have bigger visions for where it'll go one day, but like as far as a revenue stream or anything like that is concerned, like dude, I don't give a shit. Like it is what it is. Like, I have revenue from other sources. Like I'm just in this for the passion. And that's why I believe that eventually, things that you're passionate about, whether people see value in them immediately or not, if you continue to stick with them, will eventually inherently gain value, especially if you have an audience. And that's kind of the way I see it. And I'm like, okay, whatever the timeline is, like that's when it'll happen. Eventually people will realize the meme of owning like a shitty stock chart is like so much better than owning a chart, the actual stock itself. But like until that day happens, man, we just vibe and that's it.
Have you thought about like during this period? I don't know how many crypto native people there are in the Wonkies. I think there's a decent amount, but like kind of like taking like an educational route and like trying to maybe teach people, like not giving calls or anything, but like giving people like the basics of TA and
here's the deal with that, Bog. And like I've thought about that going into it, but that does turn it into a couple different things. Like, whenever you're doing any type of educational, whatever type things with that, like directly, I mean, obviously, like with the community, I love answering questions, talking with the guys, doing whatever. But from the purely educational route, like trading in general is so, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there's a stigma around anything involving any type of association with a paid group, which leads to educational content and like the skew of having an NFT to be able to be part of a group of people that are educating people to do calls. Like, obviously, like I enjoy trading. I do well. I love being able to talk about it. But when it turns into something where people are inherently expecting that value from it for something that like, dude, no matter how good of a trader you are, you can go on bad streaks, right? And if you're leading people toward that and it becomes about that type of education and it becomes about that type of thing where, whether it's an education service or a call service, like it ends up just becoming something that I feel like varies a little bit more with the performance of both the person that is, ushering out those calls and ushering out those resources. Because even if you give the best resources for education with trading, a lot of the time, like it's about the execution too, right? People aren't going to perform. And it just becomes one of those where I think it just isn't as pure and as clean as I like it. So I like the community being able to self-sustain, be able to talk through that amongst each other. I like having these conversations. But as far as a deeper level for that, like that's just not something that I necessarily want to turn it into.
For sure. No, I get it. Like anytime it could get a little like bit dicey. And yeah, especially crypto Twitter is so harsh. Like with anything, it's just you get the pitchforks coming out for any little thing. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, man. So anyway, I mean, we'll see. So let's see who has not talked yet. Sai, what's going on, man? You want to introduce yourself? I like the star glasses and the puffer jacket.
He may be dead. Hey,
yeah,
one person I was like, Flip Draga, who's a speaker. He actually minted the flipped left-facing penguin. Love that about this guy.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, he's also just an awesome dude.
Dude, that's amazing. The flip. What? Tell me the story behind the mint with that.
Hey, Kaleo. First of all, yeah, I'm a fan of your work, and also I still have the wonky that I minted. So I'm glad to see that you've been doing these every week, and I'm glad to be on here. But yeah, so it was I was actually out to lunch with a crypto friend, and during the Pudgy Mint, and like we just ordered food, and I'm just like furiously trying to mint and not get gassed out. But I think I minted like 60 penguins, and yeah, it just worked out that I got the left facing penguin, and the project started taking off, and eventually the offers started coming in, and it's crazy because like before the penguin mint, actually my portfolio went bust twice. So it was my third attempt, and I just accepted the fact that I'm not good at trading, and NFTs were more my thing. So I actually rejected three six-figure offers for the left-facing penguin, just because I had so much conviction in the project. And I mean, you can't deny the cuteness. I mean, come on, like anyone that sees this out in the real world, like it's they're gonna gravitate to it. So I literally, when all the offers were flying around, and finally a 150 ETH offer came in, and um, yeah, I had to take it, and I think it worked out because it was more than double of the first six-figure offer that came in, and um, it did get some add some traction to the project, and deservedly so. So, but yeah, that's kind of the story, and just been loyal holder since then, and it's definitely had some ups and downs, especially with there's just a lot of lore behind the project. Let's just keep it that way, put it that way. But glad to have you on board now, and appreciate you having us on stage.
And
What kind of emotions did you feel when you finally sold that one? You've been on such like a long ride with it.
Yeah, that's a good question. It was definitely a bit bittersweet because it's such an iconic penguin, but at the same time, it's like those types of moments are what draws most people in, right? Like it's it is it. We're all DJ and gamblers, right? At our core, at our cores, and when something like that happens, you just kind of, you're like, man, like, but you have to hold, like, there's a lot of people that have sold grails too early, type of thing. So you never really think you're going to end up doing what's, or making the best play. Um but yeah, I'm always going to be um kind of like uh indebted, or just loyal, faithful to the project, because it really did change my life. So I'm really happy for this current run. The new team, Luca, and especially PP for this latest run. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that everyone doesn't really see. So, just really happy to see what's been happening, and yeah, we're gonna keep going, and I do want, now that I kind of heard the story behind Kaleo, like I definitely want to look into it more. I really think that's a nice
rugged.
When the wonkies came up. Hey, I appreciate it. I do. First off, I do appreciate that the comment about the wonkies, man. That's really really nice, and do love hearing that. But I do, I am curious, as far as after you sold that, like, what percentage of those 60 do you still hold? Most of the others, like, were you able to, I guess, kind of ease your way out a little bit? Because obviously, again, talking about being a degenerate gambler with it, like, you were able to snag a large profit off of that, but then you're still probably realistic. You know, at a certain point, the floor price on the others was probably at a point where you're like, okay, you know what? Like at a certain point, do I want that much exposure to that project? I don't know. I'm just curious, what was your thinking after that, and kind of what was your approach with the rest of the collection outside of the left facing?
So okay, this is actually a great question because I aped a bunch of penguins when they were below mint, like around like point 0.05 or so. So at one point, I actually had 120 penguins, and during the run up, like I was talking to Elmo quite a bit on Telegram, and you know, so we kind of were just talking firsthand about what was happening and like what we were doing with it, and uh, I had a bunch listed. I was trying to kind of scale my way out because I mean, no one really knew where it would go, like at the beginning, right? Because there's just so many projects minting, et cetera, et cetera. But um, basically, I pretty much sold like 90 penguins below at like point 0.46 and below, and Elmo was like telling me to like delist, but by the time I tried to delist, they were already gone. I got swept away, but um, I kept the 30 that were kind of like, to me, the most like iconic, or the ones that I really kind of vibed with the most. Like, for example, there's only two penguins that have a full biker outfit. So I minted one, and then I snagged the other one off of secondary, um, like tufts and just other things like that, like crowns, obviously. But so that's kind of what it was. It was like, okay, what am I comfortable with? Parting ways with, to kind of get some ROI, right, in the short term, and also what I think would be beneficial to hold in the long run. So um, yeah, that's pretty much it. And like, one thing I will definitely say is like, what influenced me to keep the 30 penguins was we were promised igloos in the Minecraft server that the old team launched, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep 30. I want 3 igloos, and like I thought it was gonna be like financial freedom, right? Like, holy shit, like we can sell or rent our igloos. Like, can you imagine? Like, so I think I was borderline delusional at that point, but um, so that's why I kept 30. And like I'm still so bitter because I spent so much time in that Minecraft server too. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a lot of fun, but like I made some like close friends in the huddle because of that, and I learned how to play Minecraft. I've never played Minecraft before that, um, but I'm seriously still bitter we didn't get those igloos. But all right, I'm going on a tangent. I'll throw it back to you.
Dude, that's amazing because I know whether it's igloos or something else, I've been there before, man, where I'm like, that is going to be financial freedom. Like, whatever that comes to be. I think the first igloo moment for me was like, a lot of y'all probably don't even know what Stratus is, man, but Stratus was, the first real implementation of proof of stake with an L1. And I thought that Stratus was going to be like the ETH killer, one of the ETH killers. I just did. And I remember whether it was certain wallets that they had that they were working on, or, like little things like that. And looking back on it, I'm like, dude, what the hell is this privacy Tumblr wallet going to like do it to be able to like revolutionize and bring people to this? It's not going to do that much inherently to be able to get everybody on board. Like, but there were just a million things that I remember throughout like the years that I've been there, like that I've had as my igloo moments. And but like overall, man, I'm impressed with what you've said, because I think that what you're smart going into any project, and this is important whether you believe in it or not. You know, it's like once you reach a certain threshold, like, you know, whether it was 0.46 for you and you scooped up a bunch under mint before that, like, dude, that's an amazing return for that. Like these days, you know, somebody would have to scoop it up, or say that they scooped them up around like 2.7, you know, to get that same return, they'd have to see the price go up to 27 ETH, right? So, you know, and, you know, same obviously with the 150 that you know, got from the initial mint from the left facing. Dude, if you think about that, even if I think I looked at that the other day, the price of it was like 223 or something, or 230 or whatever the heck it was. And, you know, the price of it in USD now is still cheaper than the price of USD when you sold the 150. I guarantee you that. And so, you know, it's one of those things again, like I think it's important to be able to reach thresholds, even on projects and stuff like that, that you believe, to be able to take profit. But, you know, also, again, you know, it's not like you left the ecosystem. You're still obviously a massive part of the Pudgy community. And that's really cool to see, man. You know, you still have, I think there are a lot of people that are still probably pretty jealous of whatever Pudgy collection you have left.
Yeah, I think that's the crazy part is like we have this perception of like kind of accumulating, right? And there's but the most important part of a community are the holders that have like one penguin, for example, and as was mentioned earlier, it becomes their identity. Like just take Joey Moose, for example, right? Like he's deep seated in penguin lore as starting, you know, I am my penguin and my penguin is me, right? And like okay, like the first time I heard the replay of that, I was like, is this dude for real? Like this has to be fake. Like it was crazy, but it was real. And I actually got to meet Moose and at NFT NYC, and like, and I've talked to him a bunch on because he's also a big buy pills holder. So, but I talked to him. Meeting him is just like he is such like a wholesome guy, like through and through, and like um yeah, it's just there's so many people in this space just that, you know, you never would have met any other way. And I think that's it's a trip. Like people flew in from all over the world just to hang out in NYC. Like I played a game of ping pong with Peepee. Like who would have thought like any of
Yeah,
that would
kick
happen,
my
you know?
ass too.
It was beginner's luck, man. But yeah, it is. I have made mistakes. I have made a lot of mistakes. Like let's just highlight this, is that I have made a lot of mistakes about, you know, fully exiting projects. And um I think only getting one of a project is, to me, is makes it pretty hard, because you don't really have a way out. Like you can't really just sell to get your money back, because then you'll be out, you know.
I do, man. And, you know, it's funny, like, you know, as far as the lore type things go, we've got one guy that's part of the Wonky Stonks lore on space or on stage, the Wonky Cube. He, you know, like he started the whole meme 3 is key, where, you know, it, like, again, you can see his profile. He has a cube of it, and it just became one of these things that a lot of the guys in the community have kind of rallied around, is wanting a cube, you know, aspiring toward making it and being able to flex 3 of them at once. I don't know what it is, man. Just whenever I see the cube of the stonks, like it looks clean, and you can see he's done a mashup with some of his frogs, which the plague is another, you know, lower ETH floor project that I'm a fan of. Really, really strong community there as well. But, same type of thing with it. It's like the 3 is key thing. Got to be, and now we've got cubes running all over the place. What's up, man?
My problem is that I cannot hold on to ETH in my wallet long enough. So I'm constantly in these mid-level projects. I don't know if I'll ever be able to save enough to ever dive into the penguins or like a PA for that matter. But I love the damn stonks. And yeah, Genesis thing, like you were kind of saying, I just loved all my stonks from day one, and I wanted to flex more than one of them. I got a little bit hammered one night and threw some cubes. I've never done a penguin cube.
So
So Bog, somebody slide into my DMs. I wanna play around, see what a damn
Okay.
cube looks
Wonky
like.
Cube, one thing I will say, man, is like we do have a lower barrier to entry into the Pudgy Penguins with the little Pudgies.
Oh yeah, little pudgies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
jeez.
so those are still like if you look at the numbers on those versus the 8888 on the Penguins, like they're still undervalued in my opinion. Jeebus actually just commented on one of your posts, Kileo, about he still doesn't know about little Pudgies yet. So I told him I'd give him a shout out. But little Pudgies, in my opinion, those are you find some grails in there too that people list at full value, but they're still obtainable for people like you and people like me who cannot hold on to their ETH.
So, I absolutely need to be involved with the penguins because quick little story. I used a real life penguin as a prop to propose to my wife. I told her I want a private animal experience at this zoo. And we went in this door, and then the penguin waddled out with a sign. So I'm going to have to get the little pudgies and get
That's
myself
amazing.
2, well, 3. I need to have at least a cube's worth. So, but I digress. But for real, guys, any of you penguins in here, great to see you in here. Wonkies are a great community. But yeah, if you guys want to see what a cube looks like, shoot me a message, man.
I just friended you, dude. That's incredible.
Yeah, Cube's a legend. Like another one was looking back on it. You'll see a lot of people in the stonk community that'll talk about like 661, where there was within the first few days of after the mint, there was just you know how OpenSea has those glitched out where somebody would run out of gas and not be able to follow through with a transaction, and then they'd get glitched out and basically stuck on the floor. So there was this one stock 661 that was stuck way beneath what the real floor had moved up to, but it didn't reflect that on the screen. So we basically had this whole movement within the Discord to be able to track down who 661 was. And within the Discord, it took like, several hours. Somebody was able to track them down, DM the person, rallied around them, sent them the ETH to the wallet that they needed to be able to get it like moved, and ended up, rallying and making it happen. But then from there on out, 661 just became a meme within the community. We've got it like on some of the merch with the hats and, some of the mugs, other stuff like that, just because it's such an iconic thing. But it's one of those things, again, that if you're not there kind of rallying around it there at the beginning stages of that project, that you kind of don't, you miss out on some of the lore, I guess, that develops along with it, like some of the lore that you've been part of, Drago.
And I'll chime in on that front, Kaleo. Like one of the things that we did when the new team took over is like, look, we have so many new people coming into this community, and they're going to be so lost. So, like, we developed this website called Pudgypedia, and it's almost like a little wiki for our penguin community. So, like, if you come into our community, like, you can go to the website, and it has like all like. We spent like 3 or 4 days just coming up with definitions for like all the lore that we could think of. And then it even has submissions so like people can submit their own definitions for some of the things that we say in Discord, some of the things that we say on Twitter, because like it's so easy to come in, love the penguins, and then get absolutely lost in whatever the hell it is we're talking about.
And speaking about the merch, if you need a fire pair of swim shorts for the summer, definitely go check out the LedgArt merch
Oh,
store.
no joke, man. They are fire as hell. Like, let me find that. I'm gonna pin if I can find it, pin that up here because like I'm not even joking. And even if that's one of the things right now, we just have the merch store open. You know, you can like anybody can go on there, snag some merch. You don't have to own a stonk. Again, not financial advice, but not financial advice. You should own a stonk. Let's see. I pinned that up there, dude. Where's 80s actually wearing and repping modeling the merch, because that's an iconic picture with it.
I'll try and find it real quick.
Yeah, find 80s.
I'm checking out right now. I didn't even know.
Here it is.
Miami Vice. I'm buying it.
Yeah, the Miami Vice trunks, man. Like they're actually pretty sick. So again, you know, like charts are art. It's that simple.
Oh, so Kaleo, you're gonna pick up a Miami Vice penguin then, right?
Is there a Miami Vice penguin? I mean, I just grabbed like every multicolor penguin I could pop. I grabbed literally, like, I saw the most colorful penguin I could find was literally on the floor. So I grabbed it.
We got some dope Hawaiian shirt penguins out there.
Yeah, we have Nell in the crowd. He's rocking a Hawaiian shirt, like a Tommy Vercetti.
All right, I'll make sure that I look at it as a trait to pick up. Let's see.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I guess I have seen. Is it Elmo that rocks the Hawaiian shirt? Or no, Elmo's the bowl cut.
Yeah, I forget what.
Bergie used to have the Hawaiian shirt for a bit. Cleo, maybe you're remembering that, but yeah, there's that's a and Elmo did for a stretch. He was memeing with a Miami Vice penguin, and he even had he even fractionalized his. So that's probably where you're remembering it from. But yeah, he was definitely pushing the Miami Vice penguin, and they are pretty cool. That's actually one of the ones that I don't have that I wish I did. Someone grabbed I think it was a gold crown Miami Vice penguin, I think, which is it just looks so clean.
The king of Miami.
Throw some of these LedgArt shorts on them. They look dope.
I also pinned that Flip was also part of like history. It's before
dude. I laughed so hard seeing that last night. I was on a call, and I just couldn't stop laughing because it's like our official account chimed in and said our devs are fixing this right now.
Okay, explain that. So was this before the ROGs were actually released?
So we had these eggs, right, that were bouncing around for like 3 or 4 months, and we're like, sweet, I guess we're getting little pudgies in these, and then the little pudgies launched, and then we had no idea what were in the eggs. And so we thought, extra little pudgies or something, and then on Christmas Day, fishing rods came out of the eggs, but the 3-letter word was too hard to spell, so they misspelled it ROG, and a legend was born from that. So like now the whole community calls these rods ROGs, and like, dude, they're undervalued in my opinion too, because out of all 3 of our official collections, that is the least. There's less ROGs than there are actual penguins, because you had to actually go on the website to claim those.
Yeah, Sauce still regrets selling me the rarest one for $14,000 on Christmas. Like he was legit mad that I paid him $14,000 for a picture of the rarest fishing rod.
Do you still have it?
I do.
So you have the rarest ROG, my man.
And I got the rarest, one of the rarest little pudgies, the hot dog. Hopefully it'll become a toy, the little hot dog pudgy.
That's amazing.
Hey, Cleo, what do you think about the toy licensing, by the way?
Well, I guess tell me about it. I didn't know there was toy licensing that was happening with within the pudgies.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
we made
I'll
the
let
big
PP.
announcement.
I'll let PP talk about
We made the big announcement yesterday, but our first lineup is going to be with PMI, and they're picking out several different pudgies and little pudgies to mass produce. PMI is a big deal. They produce Nerf, they produce uh, Peppa Pig, Baby Shark, WWE, Harry Potter. List goes on and on of different kind of toys, but they just partnered up with Pudgy Penguins. Announcement was made yesterday, but I think the bigger announcement, in my opinion, was the one that we made on Thursday, and that was, hey, we're going to allow penguins to submit their penguin number to be considered for future toys, because of course there's going to be Pudgy toys. But yeah, big deal.
A big enough deal that he got rugged.
Yeah, I got rugs. Somebody called me. Like, I wish there was an option you could
Oh yeah,
turn off phone
I've had
calls,
that happen.
because I didn't buy a phone to use it for a phone. You know what I mean?
Do not disturb mode, my man.
That only works if they don't call you 3 times in a row.
Yeah, coming from the king of rugs over here, Cube is
QB
infamous
is the king of
for.
rugs, also.
I have learned my lesson. I could be one of those Tibetan monks that knits rugs on top of whatever mount over there. Is how frequently I get rugged.
That's amazing, man. Uh, hey, Ryan, by the way, I DM'd you. I may not be able to send you that stonk for another couple days. I might be able to from here, but I did tell you I'd send you a stonk, so I will do that, whether I can figure it out today or whether it's when I get back from vacation on Monday. One or the other. I'll get it to you.
Yeah. No worries. Appreciate it. Yeah, sounds good. It's been fun to join the space. Hear about everything going on.
Uh,
Yeah, Kalea, one thing I will mention too is we have a space later today, I think at 5 p.m. Eastern, to kind of talk about the PMI deal. So I know it's Saturday. I know you guys are probably with your family, but if you want to hop in and listen to the team kind of talk about that and what it means for the future, feel free to.
Dude, I'd love to, but unfortunately, I am officially out here on vacation with the fam, and I do like, yeah, 2 spaces would probably be too many in their eyes, but that
Dude,
was
I
much
feel you.
more
My
than I
wife's
could get
like,
away
can you
with.
please get off of this? Like, help me take care of the kids. But it's
So
all right.
yeah, and I apologize, guys. I do have to get this wrapping up, and I really have enjoyed it, man. Because again, like one of the cool things that I see is I think that there is a lot of value to be extracted, not just between like bridging certain communities and being able to tap into that and looking for strength with you know communities again that I think that are criminally undervalued. And I do think looking at it, the more that I've really paid attention to it with what's happening with NFTs and where they're going, like it really shocks me that pudgies have never made it up to that 20 ETH area. So I feel like that will happen. I'm not going to tweet that out on Kaleo account, like because I'd prefer them to take another few weeks and kind of like chop in this range a little bit more, maybe dip down a bit and stack. I feel like I should have at least 10. Like I don't know, we'll see. So, but anyway, now I really have enjoyed it. It's been fun meeting you guys. Again, I try to do them every Friday, and like it's obviously a wonky space, but at the same time, like it's really an NFT space in general, man. Like talking about anything going on in the space. And one last shill for the wonkies: if you don't have a stonk yet, that's free alpha. They're criminally undervalued as well. um, but not financial advice. So yeah, no, love you guys. I've really enjoyed it. Anybody else have anything closing before we wrap this up?
No, it's just great to see a lot of the pudgy people hop into the space. I'm sure you know one of our Wonky Stonks legends, Yakamit, is a big pudgy guy. He is
Yaka
our
is awesome.
Yeah, he's our legendary mashup creator. I think he's well over 200 at this point. There's actually a channel in the LedgArt Discord filled with all of his mashups. I'm sporting one right now with the Super Guppy and the PA. Just wanted to give him a shout out as well, seeing all the penguins in here. But glad everyone showed up. Have a great weekend.
You guys take care.
Take care, everyone. Thanks, Cleo.
All right, y'all take it easy.
Thanks, Leo.